my son. The fourth or fifth month, then it's coming down hard. Depressive. What's that? I lived there.
And then the other guy, the other guy is a little over 5 years. So these guys know what they're talking about. And they're just reviewing it as a
Looking for more some sort of.
and they actually have chemical dye the bottom. They're such good writers. You would understand. Getting the gist.
It's always such an interesting thing for me. It's just like, I still do a lot of things. And when I'm done writing it, then I have this second thought, oh dear, what was I thinking? I don't know. You know, but that happens a lot with my talks. I really like this. And you do it, but it really is.
Well, it is, I mean, and the way the sounding.
Well, how many great talks? Like twice a month?
Once a month usually, and if it's a five Sunday, we're going to do it. It's really just a safe, you know.
Right.
And that's not really a lot. You know, I don't know how well I do. There's more of a set themes and things in a traditional church. Here we just have to like hold on.
That's right. That's what it will be. Fellowship workers. I kind of like the thought. I like it too.
So you'll have to turn it on right here. Don't do it when she starts. Yeah, and then this. Like in the charging,
And then it's just going to dangle.
and it, or you can just put it like there. But you can't have it during the rest.
Just, and take it off as soon as she's
Yeah, put it in. When she goes up, take it off when she leaves. Otherwise, they won't hear anything else.
Okay.
And they
Good.
put all that.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah. I don't see anybody else here.
okay. MSU Michigan game too, Julie. I just shared. I remember that being a thing, which it shouldn't be, Oh, wait, no, it won't. It's not going to turn until I plug that in. Okay. Okay. Okay, just making sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Hello, everybody. I feel like we have to make note now every time the sun's out. We're here to. Awesome. Welcome, everyone, to our service this afternoon. And all those who are watching online as well. Thank you for joining us, either today or in the future. We will get going with our service by standing and singing together the song on the front of your songbook, Prayer of the Children of Love.
To our infinite loving parent who has beloved us into being, we say our prayer.
Outside in the world, let's call them all back and be whole in this moment right now. Let's take our 3 deep fellowship breaths together with an audible ah on the out breath. Let's breathe in. Breathe in. Breathe in. Just gently follow your breath. Let's focus on our heart space. Breathing in and out from this sacred inner realm that we hold within. This is such precious time together. A time to bring our full awareness to the one divine presence, the all that is, the presence that we live, move, and have our being in. A time to remember who we truly are. One with this magnificent, empowering force of love. We are each of us here on the earth at this particular time. We are each here together right now by divine appointment to open our minds and hearts to a much larger vision, a bigger spiritual picture of life on this planet. We ask, what are my gifts to give? And what is mine to do? Engaging the impulse of love within, we hold the space for a new story of humanity. New possibilities born of radical love. A love that ignites our imagination. A love that invites us to stretch beyond human understanding for the highest and greatest good of all. And together we say, and so it is. Thank you. And now we have some very special music from Corey. Thank you.
I need a volunteer to help me pass out some song sheets real quickly. Hey, if someone would like.
With the piano hand, thanks, Greg. Appreciate you. Everybody's supposed to skip with me?
Yeah, just one of those, yeah.
Alright, so, every so often, I find the need for a word that doesn't exist yet. A word that doesn't exist yet, a word that means more, that combines more ideas and embraces more nuances than any word that I can find. And so, every so often, I have to go into the imagination, which is an actual place, by the way, and play around and about with spirits until we find ourselves a word that means all we want it to mean, and more. And just such a word is Hathanam. And Hathanam, as you can see on the song sheet, we will define it as an expression of true gratitude, born not of thankfulness to another in separation. It's important. Born not of thankfulness to another in separation, but of the knowing of abundance in wholeness. That all given and received is undivided in the one I am, the infinitely present being of all possibilities. And so when we say or sing Hathanam, which you'll admit is easier than trying to say all of that, what we're doing is embodying and expressing this infinite fullness and eternal nowness that we truly are, in and as I am, always and already, as I always say, without seeking for, without praying to. And this is true joy and true freedom. Thanks, Mary. But the kicker, as it were, is that when we say Hathanam for everything, that everything includes everything. When we sing Hathanam in everyone, that everyone includes everyone. Every divine expression in form. Yes, even, and perhaps even especially, the ones that appear in our life as what Alan Watts, I think, once referred to as Shiva coming on rather strongly. And so we sing in true gratitude for, in, and through the all that am. Hathanam, Hathanam. Hathanam, Hathanam, everything. Sing Hasana, in everything. Hasana, through everything. Hasana, 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 for everyone, Hasana, in everyone, Hasana, through everyone, Hasana, 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 in all that I am, Hasana, through all that I am, Hasana, 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 Hasana. Is your new word for the day? Thank you.
Not just music and lyrics, but words too. Thank you. Thank you. So now we're going to sing together a fellowship song. Yay. Everybody, I'll let you please stand and turn to page 30. We're going to sing together, Love is the Answer.
Whatever the trouble I find myself in, no matter difficulty, when the back's to the wall and there's nowhere to run, the door's closed and I don't have the key. The walls start to crumble, my words caving in, I've lost my security. I feel that no one in the world understands. I'm lost and confused and lonely. Love is the answer. Love is the key. Love is the answer. The question for me. Love is the answer. Love is the key. Love is the answer to the difficulty. when you come to the fork in the road. I know that some changes have got to be made, or you're carrying too heavy a load. I don't understand the position I'm in. I don't know which way the wind blows. I'm looking for answers, but none seem to come. I'm wondering which way I should go. Love is the answer. Love is the key. Love is the answer to questions for me. Love is the answer. Love is the key. Love is the answer to difficulty. Difficulty.
That was just such a lovely song. So stay standing.
Oh, it's so much fun.
As you're all on your way already to get up, so. Just go for it.
Go for it.
I don't know, I haven't checked it lately.
Oh, okay.
I'm just doing a little.
Thanks for noticing that I have one.
Oh, no, I absolutely love the first one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was, we did two, that was the best. Because a lot of people have that.
Right, I was really surprised to hear that. You know, that's quite a change in our world, isn't it?
I guess, yeah. I don't know how it was before.
Okay. Well, I guess the appearances that I always had when the families got along, right? And now we just see a lot of division.
Yeah, that's true.
But,
Yeah. Already got a hug.
oh, yeah. I made it.
Good, so were the young ladies there?
They sure were.
Okay, and you fed them?
Yeah, and Jesse stayed over, so it was like, yeah. Yeah. All righty, we'll get a little bit of. There we go. I'll just put it back there.
Oh, another hug, yes.
So you have one of these?
Not one like that. Nice party last night.
So then when I'll plug you in. When I
I
plug
took some
you
home to my son and he ate them right up.
go to that. And
Okay.
click it on,
Okay.
and it'll turn green.
How you doing?
All right, how are you, Ron? I am always happy to introduce our speaker today, that we have today, Reverend Julie Cribley. She just told me a minute ago that she drives an hour to get to us and does it happily. And we're so happy to have her. So please give her a warm welcome today.
Yes.
We're thinking today was going to be our fellowship blooper.
Yeah.
Sunday.
Yeah.
You turned it on.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, thank you everyone for joining me today. I really appreciate your time and your attention. So I created a talk today that I chose to call Resistance Without Hate. Maybe there was no Big Bang. There was just one little word. I like to think that everything began with a single, softly spoken word. I believe the one uttered word that started existence is still stretching the cosmos, open like the wildflower it is. My love, I'm trying to hear that sacred word. I know it's still being repeated around me. It's just getting drowned out by all the ruckus we're all making. I'm trying my best to hear it. I'm trying my best to hear it. I am trying my best to hear it. The mobs here on the earth world have a bullhorn pressed to my ear. 1,000 voices fighting to be the loudest. Each word sharpened to cut. Each sentence built to burn. There's a war in the wires that we have tied ourselves to. A wildfire exists in the airwaves we share, a chorus of anger, outrage, a symphony of sirens and slogans, and marching bands of certainty, stomping over every whisper. And I'm here amid all of the clamor, trying to listen for the first word ever spoken. I'm trying to scroll past the noise. I want to ignore all the rattling chains. I won't become a disciple of anger. Not to the seductive headlines, not to the arguments that never end, not to the static of a world so afraid of silence that it fills every inch of quiet with the sound of its own unraveling. I'm listening for something ancient, something softer. The first word ever spoken. The first word that started everything. I'm listening for the breath between the waves, the hum of the roots beneath the pavement, the quiet apology of a very tired sun, slipping behind the horizon without making a fuss. I'm trying my best to hear the word that was whispered before we learned the easy road that shouting over each other paves through the center of our garden hearts. Before the world mistook volume for connection, before we forgot that the first sound was a whispered word, and that first word was love. It's a poem by John Rodell. As I got ready to write this talk for today, I realized that I had been struggling with very intense feelings of anger, even bordering at times on hatred. I'm realizing these feelings are part of the problem, however, for I'm only feeding the discord currently swirling around us. So I thought I would turn to some of the past people that I admire, that who also lived through some really horrifying conditions, seeking some wisdom on how they chose to live in the conditions we see ourselves experiencing. In 1957, Camus became the second youngest laureate of the Nobel Prize in Literature, awarded to him for work that was clear-sighted and it illuminated the problems of the human condition in their time. More than a century later, this luminous insight renders Camus a timeless seer of truth, one who ennobles and enlarges the human spirit in the very act of seeing it. The kind of attentiveness that calls to mind the true statement that attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity. Nowhere does Camus' generous attention to the human spirit emanate more brilliantly than in the essay he titled The Almond Trees. This was written after a species that blooms in the winter, penned at the peak of World War II, to the shrill noise of humanity's collective cry for justice and mercy. Camus' clarion call for reawakening our noblest nature reverberates with newfound wisdom today amid our present age of senseless violence. At only 27, he wrote, "We have not overcome our condition, and yet we know it better. We know that we live in contradiction, but we also know that we must refute this contradiction and do what is needed to reduce it. our task as humans is to find the few principles that will calm the infinite anguish of our souls. We must mend what has been torn apart, make justice imaginable again in a world so obviously unjust. Give happiness and meaning once more to the people poisoned by the misery of the century. Naturally, it is a superhuman task, but superhuman is the term for tasks we take a long time to accomplish, that's all. Let us know our aims then, holding fast to the mind, even if force puts on a thoughtful or comfortable face in order to seduce us. The first thing is to not despair. Let us not listen too much to those who proclaim that the world is at an end. Civilizations do not die that easily. And even if our world were to collapse, it would not have been the first. It is indeed true that we live in tragic times, but too many people confuse tragedy with despair. Tragedy, D.H. Lawrence once said, ought to be a great kick at misery. I thought, well, there appears to me that there are many things today deserving such a kick. And so, Camus argues that this kick is to be delivered by the deliberate cultivation of our mind's highest virtues. If we are to save the mind, we must ignore its gloomy virtues and celebrate its strength and wonder. Our world is poisoned by its misery and does truly seem to enjoy wallowing in it. It is utterly surrendered to that evil called the spirit of heaviness. Let us not add to this. We should not weep over the mind. It's enough just to simply labor for raising it up. But where are the conquering virtues of the mind? More than ever, these virtues are necessary today, and each of us can choose the one that suits us best. Before the vastness of the undertaking, let no one forget the strength of your character. I don't mean the theatrical kind of political platform, complete with frowns and threatening gestures, but the kind that through the virtue of its purity and its sap stands up to all the winds that blow around us. Such is the strength of character that in the winter of the world will prepare the fruit. Elsewhere in this volume, he also wrote, in the depths of winter, I finally learned that within me there lay an invincible summer. Each time our world cycles through a winter of the human spirit, he maintained that an abiding reminder of the inevitable, invisible summer within us is always there for us to find. And so, during this transition, when the temperature and pressure of a system go beyond what the system can withstand, and matter changes from one state to another, that truly the system is the most pliant and the most possible. This chaos of particles that liquefy and then solidify and then vaporize is just the creative force by which the new order of a more stable structure can be found. The world would not exist without these transitions, during which everything seems to be falling apart. And yet, here it is, solid beneath our living feet, feet that carry our value systems, systems of sanity, just as they're vulnerable to the upheavals of phase transitions, however, just as resilient. And yet, saved by the creative force that makes order, makes beauty, makes a new and stronger structure of possibility out of the chaos of such times. Cultures and civilizations tend to overestimate the stability of their states, only to find themselves regularly broken by internal pressures and tensions that seem too great for our systems to hold. And yet, always in them, there are those who harness from the chaos the creative force to imagine even new words. And in the act of imagining, to effect a phase transition to a different state. For we in instability, the possibility, in the chaos, the building blocks of a stronger structure. A century of upheaval years ago, suspended between two world wars, Hermann Hesse considered the strange power and possibility of such society changes. And he wrote a book called Steppenwolf. And I wanted to quote from it. Every age, every culture, every custom and tradition has its own character, its own weaknesses, and its own strengths, its beauty and ugliness. Accepts certain suffering as matters of course, puts up patiently with certain evils. Human life is reduced to a real suffering, to a hell, when two ages, two cultures, and religions overlap. A man of the classical age who had to live in the medieval times would suffer miserably, just as a savage does in the midst of our civilization. He continues, now there's times when a whole generation is caught in this way between the two ages, two modes of life, with the consequences that it loses all power to understand itself and has no standard, no security, no simple answer. We too find ourselves living now in such a world caught between two ages, confused and conflicted, suffocating and suffering. But we have a powerful instrument for self-understanding, for cutting through the confusion to draw these transitions new and stronger, make these structures more possible for our creative spirits. We find ourselves embarking on what appears to be a longer, wearier, and harder road of life. Instead of narrowing our world and simplifying your soul, we may have to absorb more and more of the world, and at last take all of it up in our painfully expanded souls, if you are ever to find peace. Most people, Hesse laments, while watching his contemporaries are instead robbed by their peace of mind and better feelings by the newspapers they read, the social media of his time, through which the world's powermongers manipulate our imagination of the possible. The end and the aim of it all, he prophesies, is to have the war over and over again. The next war that draws near and near, and it will be a good deal more horrible than the last. And in that time, that is indeed what happened. The next war did come. The world's grimiest jet at that time, a phased transition that nearly destroyed every particle of humanity. And yet, something was left standing, stirring. The same creative force made of the chaos of a new era of possibilities never previously imagined. Civil rights, women's liberation, solar panels, antibiotics, and Nina Simone. I'm reminded again of Albert Camus' insistence that real generosity toward the future lies in giving all to the present. And C.S. Lewis, who reckoned with our task in troubled times from the middle of World War II, to remind us that the present is the only time in which any duty can be done or any grace received. Society only represents a small fragment of our human spirit, and other fragments can only be expressed by refusing to accept anger and hate. Looking back into the past, it seems to me that society has often faced times of seemingly unending despair, and yet little vantage grounds in the changing chaos, where bubbles have been blown and webs spun, and the desire to create order has found a temporary home. The sentinels have managed to utter their challenges, and the people filled with hope and love have heard each other's calls through the impenetrable darkness, and the lighthouses have never ceased spreading their light. So I'm asking today for you to consider this time may be the season for tending the inner garden of our souls. Perhaps we use this time as a time to be healed again and become aware that we can create a space in which to keep going on, growing and expanding into the changes we see, which dare I say it, expanding with true love and true joy. And yes, I do dare say that. Let's do it with love and joy. If we view this time simply as a dark winter, let us remember, in the depths of the winter, I finally learned that within me there lie an invincible summer. Really just meditations on truly homecoming to our strengths. We are not invincible, but in how we garden the winters of our soul, we find the summer of our strength and the bloom of our fragile aliveness. This is what Catherine May explores in Wintering, the power of rest and retreat in difficult times, drawn from her own experience. She went on to say, since childhood, we are taught to ignore sadness, to stuff it down into our satchels and pretend it isn't there. As adults, we often have to learn to hear the clarity of its call. That is wintering. It is the active acceptance of sadness. It is the practice of allowing ourselves to feel it as it need. It is the courage to stare down the worst parts of our experiences and to commit to healing them the best we can. Wintering is a moment of intuition, our true needs felt keenly as a knife. Like happiness, which we often master as we grow older, sadness is also a skill. There are self-punishing ways to be sad, and yet there are also self-healing ways to be sad. In skillful wintering, we learn the difference between the two. Let us use our great sadness to clarify us to ourselves. Winters of the spirit come in various sizes and cycles, each meaningful, all cumulative, in their soul-sculpting lessons. I'd like to encourage all of us, including myself today, to view this time as simply a season, perhaps a dark, and perhaps a long winter season, but when we start tuning into winter, or as I've named this time of turmoil, winter, you realize that we live through 1,000 winters in our lives. Some big, some small. Some winters creep up on us so slowly that they've infiltrated every part of our lives before we truly even feel it. To get better at wintering, we need to address our very notion of time. We tend to imagine that our lives are linear, that they are in fact cyclical. The cyclical nature of the seasons of the Spirit can help us hold on and remember that this too shall pass. And yet, befriending the cyclical rhythm of our outer and inner lives is the key to wintering. To emerge from the coldest seasons of our soul, not only undiminished, but revitalized. Drawing on the analogy of trees, one of our most great metaphors and one of my own personal favorites for our humanity, in which we see ourselves and see quiet wisdom on how to live with ourselves and how to live with each other and what it means to be human. We're in the habit of imagining our lives to be linear, a long march from birth to death, in which we mass our powers only to surrender them again, all the while slowly losing our youthful beauty. But this is a brutal untruth. Life meanders like a path through the woods. We have seasons when we flourish, and seasons when the leaves fall from us, revealing our bare bones. Given time, they always grow again. The dropping of the leaves in preparation of the upcoming winter reminds us this is part of the arc of growth, maturity, and renewal. Within a few hours, trees will have released substances to heal the scar that the leaf has left as it's fallen from the tree, protecting itself from evaporation of water, infection, and the invasion of parasites. We too must protect ourselves from all invasions. I've always cherished the bare beauty of winter trees, so skeletal yet so alive. Anyone willing to look closely, and why be alive if we're not looking closely? With the ecstasy of what it means to really notice. The branches that have are already covered in dormant buds, even though it's winter. They're just waiting for the promise of spring. Many of us feel like we might be waiting right now for the promise of spring. But it's ready. It's right there. We just need to find it inside of ourselves. It is a fact that the life and soul of the tree is just getting on with life quietly. It will not burst into life in the spring. It will just put on a new coat and face the world again. And so should we. Just remain quiet and calm. And when the time comes, burst into spring. And we will do this when this time of winter ends. And end it will. Here's another truth about wintering. You'll find wisdom in your winter, and once it's over, it's your responsibility to pass it on. And in return, it's our responsibility to listen to those who have wintered before us. It's an exchange of gifts in which nobody loses out from. This involves breaking the urge to strike out in anger at the injustice as we continue to watch unfold. We must not give in to the urge to look at the misfortunes brought about, feeling certain that the choices made by others has brought upon us things we may have never chosen. This isn't just an unkind attitude. It truly does us harm, because it keeps us from learning that disasters do happen and how we can adapt when they do. This attitude might stop us from reaching out to those who are suffering. And when disaster comes, we may try to hunt down mistakes that we never made in the first place, or wrong-headed attitudes that we never held. We must guard against becoming certain that there must be someone out there that we can blame. Watching winter and really listening to its messages, we learn that the effect is often disproportionate to the cause, that tiny mistakes at times can lead to huge disasters, and that life is often bloody unfair, and it carries on happening with or without our consent. We must learn to look with that kind heart and mind on other people's problems, because they are so often a view of our own future. It is good, I think, to begin a new day with a little reservation of gladness. Here are some thoughts on gladness I have gathered as a conscientious way of starting our days, with the blessed fact that we weren't promised any of this. The universe truly does not owe us mountains and music. We didn't have to be born, and yet here we are. And our poems and our ever-breaking, ever-broadening hearts. Make no mistake, the heavens do not owe the world deliverance from its despair. The world is not obligated to any person the pleasing of their hope. No person can have their heart secured against the violence of feeling. This is why you are blessed to have this moment, this bright little fire you can rekindle again and again against the impossible. Bless the last aspen leaf waving at the tip of the skeletal branch like a bright yellow flag of resistance to gravity and time, beckoning in allegiance to life. Bless gravity for how indiscriminately it gives itself to a mote of dust, and to the mountain for how it keeps every single celestial body in orbit for this perfect cosmos to cohere, for how it presses your lover's body against you to gladden the skin of your soul. Bless the person who broke your heart to keep their own from breaking on the hard edge of courage called love. Bless paper for the way it can kindle a campfire and a revolution. For the delicious confusion of cedar and velvet at the tip of your finger each time you turn the page. For its whispered promise that when all the empires of silicon and bit go the way of Babylon and Rome, it will remain the keeper of our stories. Bless blue for making the bluebird in the sky its icicle for what they are. Bless consciousness for making blue different to me than it is to you. Bless the clouds, the way they drift across the sky like thought bubbles of birds. the way they cast a spell against indifference each time they encircle the setting sun. Bless the person that sees the inner child in everyone, and the magic in all creatures that do not shun difficulty and can turn with equal reverence towards sorrow and joy. Who can trust fear as the balsam of courage and pain as an instrument for opening our hearts to notice the delicate luster and the undulations of the light that dares to make hope an axiom of being, and it's strong enough to be changed by love. Bless chance for how, across the billions upon billions of tiny and terrific events stretching all the way back to the first particle collisions and the first stars, events each one has gone differently, it's saying the bright, clear note of you over the din of otherwise. Bless time for how, despite all its blessed and blessing indifference, it gave the aspen leaf that little extra bit to blaze and give us, each and every one of us alive, this interlude between the eternal silence of not yet and never again. Bless the stranger at the bookstore who suddenly smiles that smile, that exact smile of my dear dead friend, as if to remind me that nothing we love is ever dead, that love is a smile that saves life from mere existence. Bless every grain of sand that made the glass, that made binoculars to reveal its secret knowledge of what we are. Bless knowledge, all species of it, for how the small black seed knows to break into the spiral of a sunflower, and how we know that when the house burns down and the tyrant takes office and the toe pokes through the last good sock, we still have each other. I hear a lot of talk about resistance to the changes that are swirling all around us. A resistance that almost appears to be without hope. I am, however, convinced that while indeed we should resist, our resistance must begin in love, in joy, in remembering that we truly are blessed. To not have these wonderful things be extinguished. To reach out to others with smiles and genuine hugs that offer comfort and support. To remind us that we can indeed rise above this chaos and in time bring stability back to our hearts and our minds. Not to ignore the troubled times we are living in, but refusing to let it overtake us. And when the time comes to speak up, we do so with calm intelligence and rational reasoning. Remembering that letting go gives us freedom, and freedom truly is the only condition of happiness. For if in our hearts we cling to anything, anger, anxiety, or possessions, we cannot be free or find true love and joy. So I welcome you to join with me to this resistance without hate. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Wonderful words for us today to take with us in the week ahead. This is the time in our service when I invite us all to fill our hearts with gratitude on the heels of that beautiful talk. When we know that there are blessings and gifts in our lives and we can see them if we look. And I'm going to use Corey's beautiful word, Hathanam, an expression of true gratitude. True gratitude. Born of knowing abundance is in wholeness, and born of knowing that all given and received is undivided in the one, that all giving and receiving are one in truth, as A Course in Miracles tells us. So we say thank you. Thank you for this time together. Thank you for all the blessings. Thank you for each other.
And thank you for all your generous, generous donations that allow us to keep moving ahead as our fellowship, spiritual community. So now is the time when John will come around with the basket for donations and also your prayer cards if you have anyone you would like us to pray for. And we'll sing, I am grateful.
Grateful, I am grateful. Grateful, I am grateful. Grateful, I am grateful. Grateful, I am grateful. Grateful, I am grateful. Grateful, I am grateful.
Now, if you would please close your eyes one more time and go within as we wrap our love, the love of all that is around everyone named in the basket today. Everyone, every condition, every situation that asks for this love, to find it. May we know in our hearts that all is well. For those named in the basket and for all beings on this planet. We hold that in our hearts. And that is the message that we say from our hearts every day. We know that all is well. And together we say, and so it is. Thank you. Great.
This is a song that I usually do with our dear Winnerly Z, but it seemed like just a thing for today, so here's just me. A few little changes here and there, but I still invite you to join and sing with me on the chorus as we all be the harmony. I want to bring peace. I want to give love. I want to fill the empty spaces. I want to mend the broken places. I want to spread joy. I want to show grace. I want to grow unity. I want to be the harmony. I'm just one voice, I'm just one heart, but one voice and one heart strong. I lift my voice, I share my heart. Won't you join with me and weep with me a brand new song? As we entwine our separate melodies, they synergize and form a whole new theme. We're so much more than just two voices. When two sing together, love makes three. And love joins all humanity, so we can truly be the harmony. Oh, 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 to be the harmony. Oh, 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 to be the harmony. Oh, 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 to faces. We can heal the hurting places, and we can reach out. Now we can draw in. We can forgive and set love free. We can be the harmony. With every voice, with every heart, we're another heart song strong. We lift our voices, we share our hearts, one big instrument of peace to which all tunes belong. As we entwine our separate melodies, they synergize and form a whole new theme. We're so much more than just our voices. When we sing together, love flows free. One universal symphony, where we can truly be the harmony. Oh, 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 oh. 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 Sing it with me. Oh, 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 oh. Be the harmony. Oh, 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 oh. Be the harmony. Oh, 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 oh. Be the harmony. Oh, 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 oh. We can be the harmony.
Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Corey, for beautiful music and for our new word. I think we need to remember that word. Thank you for taking some time out of your day today to spend it with us here at the fellowship. Thanks to all those who are watching virtually as well. Just have a few announcements. I want to let everyone know we had such a wonderful St. Patrick's dinner last night. We had a lot of fun together, and we raised $465 for the fellowship. We have Death Cafe coming up on Saturday, March 15th at 2 p.m. And Healing Movements always every Monday at 4, and Cheer Yoga every Thursday at 4. So thanks again, and let us get into our peace circle and say our closing blessing.
Take each moment and
live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God is within us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. That's the truth. Don't know how to scan. Do I turn it on?